What was that? Doctor? No. Tell him I'll be in the OR in about 5 minutes. Yeah, I am. I'm here. This is a different episode of Gridiron Junkeez. We're actually in the doctor's office, believe it or not. And sitting across from me right now is Ron Gallagher from Maximum Velocity Physical Therapy, founder of Physical Therapy 3.0. Ron.
Yeah.
Tell me, is Nick Chubb coming back this year, man?
He's not coming back this year.
Oh.
But he definitely could come back next year. If what they're saying is actually true. I mean, the way that the injury happened, it doesn't look like it was just an MCL tear. But I guess in surgery, they're going to decide if there's anything else going on.
What type of wear and tear do you see on the knees of a running back that?
The funny thing about Nick Chubb is in college, he had a catastrophic knee injury. And at the time, nobody had a traumatic PCL injury that they came back from. He also tore MCL and LCL, which is, there's only 4 major ligaments in the knee, and he tore 3 out of 4 of them. And the PCL is technically the hardest one to come back from because the PCL's job is to keep the relationship of the bones in a right angle so that when it bends and straightens, it's in a true angle because the muscles depend on that angle to produce force. So for him to tear that, nobody knew if he would even come back from that. So he's already had a pretty catastrophic knee injury, and now he has this knee injury. So it's going to be really interesting if he can get back to full speed. I mean, his game is speed, so I'm wondering if he can run that fast again. It's hard to look at that video and not see an ACL tear because the way that his knee bent backwards. But they said on MRI it looks clean. He must have like a super robust ACL because he didn't tear it that time, even though he dislocated his knee, which doesn't really happen. And then this time they said he didn't have an ACL tear either.
So people were saying that this could end his career. Is it because the PCL? Is that why people are saying that?
It's because it's hard enough to come back from one catastrophic knee injury. It's scratching and clawing for an entire year. Is this another catastrophic knee injury that you'd have to scratch and claw? He's older. He's a different athlete than he was in college. So who knows if he can actually rehab and get back to that place.
Now, people are also wondering, what can Nick Chubb do to get back to full strength? So people, high school, college athletes, even players in the NFL, what is the road to recovery after legitimately going with your knee?
Yeah. It's really going to be about able to withstand the force of sprinting, which for me is a strength-related complaint. So can he normalize his range of motion after surgery? Can he adequately get all the foundation strength back and then progress that strength to an elite level? And then he's got to be running at an elite level in order to compete at the NFL level. So it's really another year of scratching and clawing to reach an elite level.
Now, Ron, give the people an insight onto what Physical Therapy 3.0 is, because you believe that the NFL is operating underneath like this umbrella term of Medical 2.0.
For a fact, that's what's happening. So if we really look at the injury rates of NFL players, the amount of athletes tearing their ACL, rupturing their Achilles, like quarterback
J.K. Dobbins also, and Aaron Rodgers tore his Achilles.
Yes, and Aaron Rodgers. So I've got some really strong opinions about what happened with Aaron Rodgers. That would be a good episode for another day.
Well, we're going to see how the people like the reception to this first episode. Obviously, a person in the landscape that knows what they're talking about a little bit here. We have Joe Burrow, who's also been nursing a calf strain for
Right.
what it seems to be
Right.
like his entire career.
Right.
These are the things, Ron, that people might want to know.
Yes. So the amount of money moving through the NFL is hundreds of millions, right? So there's a really high legal drawback to what they're doing. They don't want to put these athletes in a bad legal position. So it's governed by orthopedic surgeons who are operating very, very conservatively. And for the general population, we wouldn't treat it like that. So I call that medicine 2.0. Physical therapy 3.0 is a much more preventative approach, a much more proactive approach, and less reactive. And if they're doing something to Joe Burrow, which is massage and dry needles and electricity and ultrasound and probably blood flow restriction, which is a new and up and coming way to treat these problems, those are actually medical 2.0 ways to address it. And if they don't get on proper strengthening, aggressive strengthening, then he can't tolerate the force of sprinting. And the way that he strained it was he rolled out in practice, and the way that his posture was and the way that his legs were underneath him, I can definitely see how he would strain his calf in that position. So his posture was all weird and just kind of slumped over. So I bet if I scrubbed in and really got down and dirty with what his back stabilizers are like and what his hip stabilizers are like and, really, really dug in on the details, I'm going to find profound weakness. Now, he might be able to do a squat or a clean or whatever, but if he doesn't have adequate stability, then it's not functional strength.
Yeah.
And that lack of functional strength is really what's causing these ACL to tear and these Achilles to tear. Because an Achilles tear is more of a hip problem than it is an actual Achilles issue. And I bet these medical professionals don't even know the biomechanics of that.
I would be super afraid to work on a person like Aaron Rodgers, and I would, of course, take a conservative approach because he's a superstar.
Right.
So it's
Right.
tough to kind of rewire the brains of these people. But, Ron, the one thing I do know about football is that it's very physical, and that next week we are going to have another injury, unfortunately, that we can break down here, and you can give us a little insight on how they're going to get better. And I have to get back to the OR room right now. I'm getting paged in. It appears that we have like a Broncos player in there. We're checking to see if he has a heart. Because we're out of here, baby.